Hey there everybody, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. I have some folks on the Discord server ask me if I make homebrew monsters. Well, yeah, quite often. So today I will share one of my favourite creations, and forgive me those of you who have heard this story before. Today I present to you the Delicious Pink Ooze. Normally, oozes are either abnormally large single-celled organisms or abnormally cohesive and mobile conglomerations of cells. They don't exhibit a lot of advanced cognitive ability because they don't have a central nervous system or anything like a brain. The Delicious Pink Ooze is a very rare example of an ooze that is developing a rudimentary nervous system and seems to have some ability to read complex sensory information and react to it in specific ways. What it does is still nowhere near rocket science, but it's very clever for an ooze, leading some to speculate that this makes it something other than an ooze, like a really primitive relative of the mimic. It isn't, but it's just an ooze, even less complex than your average jellyfish. They appear as a lumpy mass, kind of like someone spilled some fruit chunk-filled pink yogurt on the ground. They don't grow much larger than a couple of feet wide and weigh no more than a bucket of jello, but they do have a more spongy and rubbery consistency and hold together pretty well compared to most other oozes. They simply don't tear apart when pulled and can twist out of a person's grip or flip around and slap someone who grabs them, but not with enough force to actually hurt anybody. They use this contorting power to move around, making them one of the fastest oozes you will ever find on the material plane, able to move a remarkable 30 feet per round at top clip. That's like their dashing speed. Even faster than the notorious black pudding. They have special damage resistance to bludgeoning, acid and cold attacks and have an armor class of 9 and 20 hit points, and pretty average attributes with a notably higher intelligence, for an ooze at least. What makes them so interesting is a special adaptation they have made to the acid-secreting pores, which can squirt a special chemical concoction at any creature which disturbs them. This pink fluid jets out and soaks the creature, who gets to make a Dexterity saving throw with a difficulty class of 12, or have it cling to them and waft a very pungent odour all over the place, like a cloud. Unlike the spray of a skunk, completely unlike the spray of a skunk, the fluid releases an incredibly delicious smell. And not only that, it is delicious to any creature who catches wind of it. To a rust monster, it smells like a pile of iron ingots. To a troll, it smells like a slow-roasted hobbit basted in blood gravy, and so on. As soon as the ooze releases the spray, it immediately seeks to escape, heading for any dark crack or crevice that it can find, where it can seek safety by squeezing inside. It will stay there, out of harm's way, until it senses no disturbing vibrations nearby for a while, just regular patterns or stillness. It then slithers out carefully and circles around the area until it picks up the trail of its own scent spray, which it will then begin to follow. Delicious Pink Oozes will follow the trail for miles, and as long as they stay out of direct sunlight or any area that is too harmful for them to survive, they keep slowly creeping along, tracking after their prey. Prey? Yes, prey! Well, more accurately, the mostly eaten remains of whatever they sprayed with their super predator attracting musk. As they have no real means of killing anything other than accidentally suffocating something, they rely on larger, more lethal predators to do the killing for them. And in a dungeon or cavern environment where food is scarce, this tactic works out fairly well for them. They just follow along until they come across something good to eat, settle over it, dissolve it with enzymes and absorb the nutrients. Then either resume their slow search for more food, or if the trail continues, they've just finished off the wax paper and crumbs of some trail rations of their victim's campsite. They follow on until after the scent trail until it ends in a tasty scene of murder or carries on. The beauty of this simple trick is that spraying it on a weak or strong target has equal benefits. A weak target is quickly made into a meal. A strong target will often leave a trail of bodies, since it kills any predators that are lured in by the delicious musk. The delicious pink ooze, ironically, is anything but delicious. It tastes absolutely awful and is quite poisonous, causing violent nausea, convulsions, and explosive diarrhea, often simultaneously for about 2 or 3 hours. However, the musk is extremely valuable to those who know how to prepare it and preserve it. A fully grown pink ooze, delicious pink ooze, can be poked and prodded into releasing up to 16 fluid ounces or about 2 cups of the musk. Killing it will render a less effective harvest and is not required, so no knowledgeable collector would do so. The 2 cups of fluid must be kept out of direct exposure to sunlight at a temperature over 120 degrees Fahrenheit or just under 49 degrees Celsius and constantly exposed to air, which can be a bit tricky, as storing it in a sealed jar, flask or water skin will ruin it in about a half an hour. It can be preserved by cooling it down to 45 degrees Fahrenheit or about 7 degrees Celsius and spreading it over some thick honey-soaked leather, then dusting it with fine sea salt and leaving it to dry for a few days. Then the salt is carefully removed and the surface of the leather is scraped with a sharp blade, removing a fine pink powder. This is the most delicious food and beverage additive known to culinary alchemy and is illegal in many places because it turns whatever it is added into the most amazing tasting food or drink of its kind. For example, in a game I was running, a local bar opposite the halls of residence of a Wizard's Academy sold simple bowls of onion dipped, laced with a pinch of delicious pink spice. Just so happens that this tavern was owned by the player characters. The dip was so addictive, people would eat it until they vomited. Students basically moved into the tavern and set up a prestidigitation and dip-fueled rave party in the basement that raged 24/7. They all flunked out of their midterm exams. The tavern was doing such a roaring trade in dip, it destabilized the local agricultural economy because farmers were charging premium money for onions, to the point they were ploughing up perfectly good food crops in order to grow more onions. Things got out of hand, but the profits were enormous until the spice ran out, and nobody except the local lizard folk in a nearby swamp forest knew how to make any more of it. The delicious pink oozes have a mysterious reproductive cycle. They don't seem to breed or multiply in captivity and are so rare in the wild that no reports exist on how many there are, how fast they grow, or how often they replicate, or even how they replicate. One interesting property of them is that they are either completely ignored by or completely immune to the attacks and predations of other oozes. So in theory at least, one could perhaps create a delicious pink ooze suit in order to pass through an ooze-infested environment for a short time. A dead, delicious pink ooze will decompose in 48 hours, becoming a sticky, foul-smelling grey slime which will eventually dry up or wash away. I recommend including unusual creatures like this in your game that have more of a quirky story element to them. Something that is weird, can create a bit of drama, spice things up, both dramatically and literally spice food and drinks up. They could also make a great subject for a special beast hunting side quest. Just a reminder, if you have not already subscribed, please do so, feel free, and be sure to hit that notification bell to make sure that when I make an upload, you'll see it. Thanks for listening, and bon appetit.